We got you, Coach Reinebold. Before we get into more serious matters, hey, Coach, good to see you. You know that 50% of CFL fans are going to, or more, are going to say Rourke should come back to Canada. Are you one of them? After what's happened in his rookie NFL season, how do you feel about him being claimed by New England after being waived 3 times in Jacksonville?
Well, it's interesting to hear the fans say, he's getting jerked around. I mean, you don't want to get jerked around. Don't get into pro football, because that's what life is in pro football. We're watching a kid right now, in that Browning kid at Cincinnati, who's tearing the league up. He's done things that nobody's ever done in 4 games in his career already. And here was a guy that was cut 3 times by the same team, in Minnesota, and then went back last week and beat Minnesota. And if you don't have the mental toughness to go through that process, then you're probably going to have a tough time in this business. And there's a lot of guys that have been that way. Their life in this business has been cut, not, re-sign, cut, practice roster, cut, back, and then all of a sudden they get their chance. And, I just really think that I think that kid's got a future. I think he's shown enough in both his CFL film and what he did in preseason that when he gets in a situation where he gets a genuine opportunity, and not, again, he was never going to beat out Trevor Lawrence. Anybody that thought that was going to happen was, delusional. But what you had hoped was there was going to be enough tape in preseason, and which is tougher now, Rod, because there's one less preseason game. So guys like Rourke, it's harder for them to get that first break. And, remember, there was a quarterback that played for 26 years that was drafted in the 6th round and didn't get his opportunity until the guy in front of him got knocked out of a game. So when your opportunity comes, you better be ready.
Oh, man, I was just telling a young kid here in Florida the Tom Brady story the other day. Kid's not playing, and I said, hey, look up the story of Tom Brady, man. He was frustrated. He was down. He wasn't going to keep going, but he did. And when he got his chance, he shone. I said, that's what you need to do. So good point. But it's funny because I had a football guy in Mississippi. He's beside himself, Jeff, that Rourke wasn't claimed before this. He goes, why can't this kid get a chance? I said, you should know why some guys get picked and some don't. That's like God picking your number. Don't you think?
Well, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. I mean, and most of them are not in Rourke's control. So again, it sounds like coach speak, but it's just the facts. You just got to control what you can control and let the rest of it sort itself out. There's only one thing, Rod, that will guarantee he never plays in the National Football League, and that's if he quits. That's the one thing that will guarantee he never will play in the league. So, he's got to, again, he's got to do what he has to do, right? Not for me, not for you, not for any fan. But, if he wants to truly make his name in the National Football League, then he's got to go down there and he's got to go through this grind to get that opportunity.
I don't know if that's coach speak. I think it's life speak. But we were saying before the break, the Eagles have lost 3 in a row. How much panic should there be at the link right now?
Well, I think there's got to be a lot of concern because, what you've seen now is 3 weeks of not playing very well. And especially, not playing the way everybody anticipated this team would play. They were within, minutes of a Super Bowl championship last year, and they're young, and they went out and drafted well and, signed a bunch of guys in free agency that are good players. And, here we are at the 16th week of the season and making a coordinator change on the sly inside the building. The quarterback has not played very well for 3 weeks in a row. It's illness. And some of it's, frankly, that I think defenses have started to figure out that if you make him make enough throws, if you make him be a quarterback, it's tough on him. And their offense is kind of gotten bogged down because I think for a lot of the same reasons. Their offense is based on a couple simple principles, and defensive coordinators get paid too. I mean, they sit in their office from 4:30 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night, trying to figure you out. And if, we saw it with Dallas, right? I mean, Dallas riding high. They beat the Eagles. They won 5 or 6 straight, and they go up and just get pasted in Buffalo because the Bills saw that if you can stay in front of them in the game and you run the ball, they're not built for that. And Josh Allen, I think he threw for 94 yards, and they blew the Cowboys out of the building.
Yeah, did you see what Josh Allen said? He goes, I feel like the guy that did nothing in the class project and still got an A. But you know what? That's the concept of that's the nature of football, man. That's team. What is Etch calls it complimentary football. I don't think he trademarked the phrase, but that's kind of what it is, right? Doing whatever it takes to win. But about those Cowboys, Dak threw for, I think, 123, his first pick in 5 games. And afterwards, he's like, I can't put my finger on why we can't win on the road, nor could the coach. For us Cowboys fans, we're kind of not shocked. What's your guy Baldy saying? What are you saying about the Cowboys?
Well, you know what? I was so, and I've always been, because of 20 years of, the Cowboys being all hat and no cattle. And I thought that this was the year. I mean, all the indications were there, Rod, that this was really a legitimate football team, right? And the one thing that we hadn't seen was them play outdoors against a good football team, and were they going to be able to stop the run? And I thought that Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator from Buffalo, did an amazing job of attacking the Cowboys where they really are deficient, and that's at the linebacker level. They've got a bunch of great pass rushers, and they are, I think, 3rd in the NFL in pass rush rate. But when you line up like Buffalo did, and you just pound away at them and pull guards up on those little linebackers. Their linebackers are as big as CFL linebackers, Rod. And I know there's a trend in the league right now to go to smaller, faster players on defense because of all the throwing. But again, things run in cycles, and when you're playing with 205 and 225 pound linebackers, once those guards get up on you, you saw one example of. The Buffalo tackle got on one of those little linebackers, and he just ran him 20 yards into the end zone. So that's going to be a potential problem, and something that Dan Quinn and the defensive staff there are going to have to figure out.
Hey, Coach, for fun, just to talk on the bowl season, I spoke at a high school program's wind-up last night, and it was awesome. I was talking with all the coaches and the players, but we were talking about these bowl games, man. Kudos to Ohio that goes in on the weekend and wins their bowl game without Curtis Rourke. That was awesome. But all these bowl games where the big-name players aren't playing because they've transferred, coaches have quit and gone to another school. Barker says, just enjoy the football. There's 43 bowl games, enjoy it. And that's true. But, Jeff, what is your take on what's happened to college football? Can it be fixed? Because it kind of feels like it's ruined.
I think that's really 2 separate questions, Rod. When you look at the bowl games, here's what the teams, obviously, they're and for the most of the bowl games that are going on right now, which are lower tier bowls. I know when I was at Hawaii, and this is in the early 2000s, we would make $750,000 for the athletic department to go play Hawaii Bowl or any of those lower tier bowls. $1 million maybe to go to the Belk Bowl. And then you got $24 million when you went to the Sugar Bowl. So there's a difference in the bowl payouts. But what teams really like the bowl games for, to be very honest with you, is number one, it helps you so much in recruiting. Number two, think about it, Rod. They've cut back spring practice now. It's getting shorter and shorter all the time. So when you go to a bowl game, you get another 2 weeks of practice with your team. And that's just not your starters. That's everybody on your football team. So it's like having another spring practice. So coaches obviously want to be in a bowl game for a number of reasons. Financial, first, for the school. Second, that it helps you in recruiting. And thirdly, it gives you another opportunity to work with your players. So it helps build depth in your program and helps keep kids from going into the portal. Because if a kid's active and he's practicing and he's going to a bowl game, he's less likely to go into the portal, which most of the group of 5 coaches now worry about more than anything else is losing kids, getting your good players poached by the Power 5 schools.
Yeah, so basically what you're telling me is it depends on your perspective. If you're just a fan, watch it and enjoy it. But like there's a kid from here in Boca, Michael Pratt, at Tulane. If you followed, he's become Tulane's all-time passing leader. So I said to the coaches last night, I'm excited to watch Pratt in this Cheez-It Bowl or whatever. And they're like, no, he's not playing. He's going somewhere else. I'm like, oh, my God. It's hard to keep up with this, man.
Yeah, it is. And, it's interesting. Chip Kelly had an interesting and Chip's kind of a deep thinker. And he had really an interesting idea about what's happened now. How in the world can the schools that were once the Pac-8 now be playing in the Big Ten against schools that were once in, that were Eastern Independents, like Rutgers and Maryland, and now they're playing Cal and Oregon and along with Minnesota. And what happened to the traditional rivalries, the things that built college football? And, I think it's sad when we lose those things for the almighty dollar, but it's the business of the business. And what Chip proposed, and I thought was really interesting, was college football just goes its own way, and all the other sports can be a part of the NCAA. And that's probably a more equitable way to, police or, enforce rules or whatever on sport, because, it's crazy that now, because when you make that decision, like, for example, Oregon going to the Big Ten, well, not only does your football team need to fly and do all those things, but your basketball team, your girls softball team, the track team, the golf team, everybody. And, that's pretty expensive. And so what do they got to do? They got to get the television revenue to offset all those costs. And, it just creates the madness that we see in college football today.
The root of all evil? Money, of course, but it ain't changing. So get with the program. Merry Christmas, Coach. Thank you. We got to run. Enjoy the ball. I appreciate the time today, man.
All right. Mele Kalikimaka to you, Rod.
Awesome. Thank you. Coach Jeff Reinebold from SkySports NFL coverage, the iconic coach.